Hello, this is Walter Urs Schmidt speaking, award-winning author on the book on super yacht sales and also speaker on the super yacht radio. But today it's not about me, it's not about my book, it's nothing about my products or services because I have a very special guest. And it is a real huge honor to me. And this is not too much said to have this person here today. He is well known as Uncle Paulie, but Paul Kazanofski is the guy you have to talk to if it comes to real estate, whether it's in the States, in Florida, or all over the US, even abroad, it doesn't matter. He's the guy. He's not only very well trained, and his knowledge is not only big, but he has much more. He's humble, and I'm very pleased to have him on my show. Welcome, Paulie Kazanofski.
So
Let's
good to be here, Walter. I'm excited, my brother. So good to be here. Thank you for the introduction. And yes, I'm humble, but that introduction was way too good, way too good. But
it
hey,
was
that's fine.
just it was just the beginning. But
Thank
what I want to would like to is for the listeners and the viewers as well. Tell us a little bit about you, short, simple. Who are you? Where you came from? Because you have a very special past, and I think that will address a lot of people that listen and look to this interview.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm actually Canadian. I'm from Montreal, Canada. My mom and my father, they were from former Yugoslavia, communist country. Left the communist country. We ended up going to Canada, and I grew up in Canada since I was young. And like I say, English is my third language, but it's so funny because I speak it better than the other languages now. So it's so funny because I guess I have to speak it all the time. But we grew up there, and then my mom and dad shortly thereafter ended up getting a divorce. And so I never knew my father after I was a young kid. And so we grew up in a really bad area in Montreal, humble beginnings. My mom tried to make ends meet. She worked hard, but she didn't know the language. And so, like any immigrant in any new place they moved to, it was tough times. And she just taught us a lot of the old country stuff, very scarcity mindset. And for me, I was always this gregarious young kid that had so many dreams, and I was kind of stifled in that area. But in my area, you either got in trouble, went to jail, became a drug addict, alcoholic, or something like that. And for me, I got into boxing really young because there was some kids picking on me in my neighborhood when I was 9 years old. And so my mother took me to the local gym there. And for the grace of God, there was a good trainer there. And I took a real good liking to boxing and other things. And I didn't hang out with the bad kids, so to speak. But I always had some dreams and aspirations of being bigger than where I was. And I got good at the boxing. And as I got older, I felt like maybe one day I could use my physicality to get out of this bad area that I grew up in. And that's exactly kind of what happened when I was about 19. I moved to California because I met on my father's side, because we were estranged when I was young. And
Mhm.
I re-met my father's side, the family. And it happened, I had a aunt, my father's sister, living in California. And when I met them, I found that they were in business. See, because where I grew up, nobody had dreams and aspirations. They didn't talk about business or you could get out of this place. People were born there and died there. And for me, when I saw the other side of the fence with my aunt and uncle, I saw how great they were doing, but they weren't an athlete or a singer or a professional actor or something. And I realized, wow, you can have a different type of vocation or be an entrepreneur and make good in your life. So it sparked something in me. I then moved from Montreal to California illegally,
Mhm.
and I worked a little bit for my uncle, and I started really asking him questions. I was so motivated. to be something better than I was. And I discovered that I could do business. I didn't know, but I discovered it was in me somehow. And there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this, maybe even a little young girl or young boy with some dreams. And I just did it. I was a little bit scared. I'm not going to say I wasn't when I left. I mean, I came to America without any papers illegally, and I just never went back. I literally came here with a two-way ticket, just to pretend I'm coming to visit. And instead of going back, I ripped up the ticket and said, I'm never going back. And the rest, I got into a little bit of real estate, a little bit of other businesses, started a little business at 19 years old. That was very successful. I sold that business, and then I moved to Las Vegas, and I started doing some custom home building. And then from the custom home building, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, country music. And I started flipping homes, and then started building again here recently, maybe 5 years ago. I started building again because the market was asking for new builds. And the rest is history. Now I'm in so many areas. We do flips, we have coaching students. And I mean, I met the best coach in the world, and he helped me grow my business. And and the rest is history, I guess.
Now, you as a also very successful entrepreneur, and you have made your way from nowhere to a very successful businessman in real estate and also coaching, as you have mentioned. And this is something that is not really normal to say in that way, because there are only a certain percentage of people that reach that goal by the end. And now, as you went through the whole process, what was it in a retrospective watched? What was it that was the trigger that really made it happen, that you went into? You said, I just did it. But there are so many people that are afraid of, well, just do it. And it also depends on where they grew up and what is the country like. So is there anything that you can say it's a generality that is?
Well, I remember when I was young, and I lived in the projects. And for people that might not understand what the project, it was like government subsidized housing, because that's all my mom could afford. But the funniest thing with this place was, although it's a really bad place, there was a view of downtown Montreal behind me. It's like $1 million view of the city. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to look out at this beautiful view, and I would think about one day what I could be. And I was like, look at how beautiful that is, but yet look at how bad my neighborhood is. And I don't know really, like, people ask me this question. It's a good question, but I just felt like I never did drugs. I never drank. I never hung out. I was always busy going to the gym, and I played drums also. I enjoyed music. So I was always busy, but I always knew I wasn't going to be there. And I remember looking at this view from my window and saying, I'm going to be in that world. I'm going to be in a better world. And when I had an opportunity, it's so funny because a lot of my friends said that they would go to California with me. I had a lot of friends growing up, and closer that day came, they all fell. They're like, they made excuses. For some reason, I just did it, and I found a better life for myself. I found other people that were doing something in their life, and that motivated me. And I'm like, I could do this. So I think a lot of people that are in life, doing life, whether they come from like what I came from, it's okay to come from wherever you come from whoever parents, whatever race you are, color, creed. It doesn't matter if you think bigger than you are. And at the time I was doing this, I didn't think it in my head. I just knew I had to do something different. And the day came that we were supposed to all leave, and
Yeah.
I was the only one who left. And I think because I was a boxer and a lot of days I didn't want to go to the gym and work out. I was a kid. I wanted to play with my friends, but I made a commitment and I stuck with it. I went. I played drums. I went to practice and to be better. I went to school even though I was dyslexic and I couldn't stand school because I didn't learn like the other kids. But I still went because my mom gave me that discipline that a lot of the kids in my neighborhood didn't have. So I think that's what it was, is I always was so used to going when I said I'm going to go somewhere. So when I went and I made my way, I was willing to work for free. I was willing to ask my aunt and uncle for like a guidance of how they made it. I started hanging out with some more successful people than me. And I started realizing that I'm not some dumb kid that people thought because I couldn't read good because I'm dyslexic. But I thought like, man, I think I could do something with this. And not only do I think I could do it, I think I could do it better. And it wasn't because I thought I was cocky and I'm better. No, because I just saw something that I can I can take what they gave me, but I could build it more better from what I am as a human. And the way I treated people and how I could work with people, all different people I could work with because of the neighborhood and my life I had before allowed me to not judge people, not look at color or where they come from, like from an origin or something. And I think that's what made it easier for me. But to be honest, I can't really pinpoint the one thing like to act big, because I'm never going to tell you something that is not me, because I'm authentic. I'm going to tell you how I feel. And that's kind of how it went.
That's something that I realized with you in this discussion already very much as well, that this authenticity, I mean, you are you. You don't care about what other people think or what they look at you or how you look at, and it's just you are you, and you are the original, and you are not a copy of anything. And
Thank you.
now you are the one. You are the, that's why also humble, very humble, and
Thanks, buddy.
absolutely authentic. You are this Paulie Kazanofski, this Uncle Paulie sort of, which makes you also very, very lovable.
I
And
love people. I really do. You know what? I try to look at the best in people all the time. And we're not perfect, but I always find the best thing, even if it's the worst person. I say, man, at least he's got a good heart. Like we could work with him. And a lot of times, some of the people that work for me, my managers, and now that they're like, they just shake their head. They're like, you'll want to save anybody, Paulie. You'll want to save anybody.
and you said something very important, I think so, which is the coaching part. You said
Yep.
you coach by yourself also now entrepreneurs, and you get coached as well. So how important in your perspective now for the listeners, how important is coaching in business, but also not only business, but also the impact in the private life? How important is that?
Great question, Walter. You always ask the best questions. Coaching to me is the reason why I am where I am, because you got to remember there's a lot of people in the world that was kind of like me, that didn't understand. They didn't have a path. They went into life blind. And that's how I did business before I had JT as my coach. And when I met him around 10 years ago, he made me think differently. He gave me the path, the blueprint. I always had the talent. I just didn't have somebody to hone in the talent and give me that blueprint, because I was doing business like a lot of people are doing business. I was just doing it, and a lot of it was wrong. And I was just chasing the same thing over and over. And I obviously got different results. I didn't get different results because I didn't have the blueprint. And when I met him 10 years ago, it allowed me to expand. It allowed me to utilize what he had learned through his coaches and his journey in the real estate space, what I was in. And he allowed me to grow from there. And remember, you got to be coachable too, because coaching doesn't always work. If you think you know everything and you come in and I'm smarter than he is or she is, it's not going to be it's not going to be a good experience with a coach. But if your mind is open and you're willing to allow somebody to sometimes tell you what you don't want to hear, and
Hmm.
it's hard because, listen, I'm a pretty tough guy. And for me, I'm a man's man, right? So when someone tells you what to do, first things you want to say, what are you talking about? But when you're humble, you could accept it and implement it, because that's what I was doing even when I was a kid, when I was boxing or drumming or do acting in school or trying to get a good grade. I was being coached, I was being mentored, and I was always like that as a kid. And then when I got older, when I met my coach, I was able to adapt that teachings, and it changed my life. It really did. And that's how I approach coaching. When I coach other people, I want to see the first thing, are they willing to be humble? Are they willing to allow me to get inside of their heart and soul so I could show them the better way? And sometimes there's resistance, but I think I have a way of getting through that resistance and making people successful, or at least helping people. It's not like I make them, I just give them a better way, a better path that
Hmm.
collapses time. And that's what a good coach does, collapses time, but you're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to, no coach is going to do the work for you. You still have to use the blood, sweat, and tears that we know of as entrepreneurs.
Now that leads me to a very, very important question regarding yourself, which is the clients that you have. When it comes to the question, what is it? Why should they choose you as a coach for the real estate business?
Well, the thing is a lot of people in this real estate space that are coaches are not actually doing what they're coaching. They might have did it in the 1980s or 90s, but they stopped doing it because they started being coaches and speakers, and they travel and tell people about their journey in business and real estate. The difference between me is I'm actually still doing what I talk about and coach about. Number one. Number two, I've done over 600 deals, 444 flip homes where I bought the home, fixed it up, made it beautiful, and then I flipped it and made money. Some, of course, I kept as a rental, but most of them I did flip, to be honest. And then the other 163 deals that I've done were called wholesales, where I just bought the property under contract. I didn't buy it, sorry. I put it under contract, and then I flipped the contract, just the paper, to somebody else, and I made the in-between money. So with those two avenues, I was able to do over 600 deals. Plus, I'm actively building and doing apartment buildings now. And I just believe in having partners. And I think a lot of coaches don't preach partnerships, they preach percentages and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think that's what makes me different. So I could give that blueprint in a lot better way. I know what's going on in today's times.
So actually, that means for those who want to have or actually need a coach, which actually everybody should be, with you, they have a coach. He's not only, you are not only talking about, you actually walk the talk, and you will know exactly what it is, and you are always on the right, on the latest edge, because you're continuously in this whole process of sales and flipping
Yeah.
and Revit and
I'm there for the students too. I think a lot of coaches, they get busy and they put a boundary between their students and themselves. They might not give somebody their phone number or
Mm.
their email or something like that. I'm different. If someone's in trouble and they need me, they could get a hold of me and I could walk them through it, calm them down. I was just doing that yesterday to one of my students in Louisiana, New Orleans, and they're doing a project and they were getting frustrated with the contractor. And so I was able to walk them through. I even had him call the contractor and I negotiated with the contractor, and I got the contractor down. So that, I mean, look, I don't care for anybody listening to this. I don't care who you use, but use something that someone or something that's different than what you're doing over and over and not getting the results. Just like a lot of us entrepreneurs growing into being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So, I never really try to plug myself and say, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for JT. I wouldn't have students. I wouldn't be doing the speaking and definitely not be doing the coaching and doing deals all over America, Canada, abroad too. So it's really fascinating because it's sometimes other people will help catapult you, and it's not just all on your own shoulders. So I
Mhm.
want people listening, and somebody who listens to this, don't get overwhelmed and think that you have to do everything. Trust me, there's a lot of stuff that I've done in my life that was luck, but I was just willing to do it. That's the only thing. I'm not some talented guy who's smarter than people and somehow I made it. I'm the real story of a guy that says, if I can do it, you can do it, because it's true. It's true.
Well, you mentioned now the name JT Fox, which of course I know as well, as you know.
Yeah, you too. He's a good man.
Absolutely, he is a brilliant, absolutely brilliant coach. And nevertheless, if people want to approach you, how do they reach out on you? What are the possibilities and ways?
Typically people get me on LinkedIn or other platforms like Facebook is I'm more prevalent on Facebook, I guess, because I'm older generation. So I know how to use that one a little better. But I'm on Instagram too. And a lot of people see my videos. I try to give away a lot of content and help people, and people follow me. And then I think after a little while, they're like, wait a minute, man, this guy actually knows what he's doing. They see I'm doing deals on a daily basis, weekly basis. So that's the way people get a hold of me typically.
Okay, anyway, for the viewers and listeners as well, beside listening, which is on the podcast, of course, so that's why we have to mention it. And for the others, they will see here somewhere before and afterwards some links that you can assure find Paul Kazanowski. And also for those who want to have a coach, a wealth coach, the world's number one wealth coach, obviously it will be JT Fox. And that's for everybody, it doesn't matter. But for real estate, for the real estate stuff, Paul Kazanowski, that's the one you have to approach. And now another short topic. I mean, I have written the book Super Yacht Sales, so I'm a little bit in the super
Yes.
yacht industry as well. Now, there's a connection between yachts and real estates. Both are, let's say, things you can live in. Of course, you can move with the boat, and both owners or also even contractors, builders, they do live also in houses. And the market of a yacht, or the yacht market as such, is not too far away from the real estate. Now, by saying that, a refit of a house compared to a refit of a yacht, do you see options as a realtor to combine those two things, yachts and real estate?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you typically, when you have a yacht, a boat, of any size, even, it means that you have some type of wealth building machine behind you. And I think they kind of correlate together. They kind of marry together is because of that. It's you sometimes have to have a little bit of money to buy both a yacht or a house, depending on the size of the house and yacht. But the truth of the matter is like you said, you know, people usually that have a yacht, they have somewhere to stay, but they usually want a bigger place to buy that's fixed. The difference is obviously, with real estate, that usually goes up in value. And with a yacht, it usually goes down in value. So that to me is the biggest difference. But typically, the people that have a yacht understand that, and they still have an abundance of money so they could afford and enjoy the water and just having a place to bring the family and friends and spend some time. I mean, I love boats, but I always hear, I could be wrong, but this is the saying going around here, at least where I live and people I know, the best day of your life is when you buy your yacht, and the best day of your life is when you sell your yacht, because sometimes the maintenance and the cost of having one is very high. But like I said, it's about experiences in life and having, you know, these type of toys, how we call them, which would be a yacht would be one of them. Um, it takes some money, and it takes somebody that wants to spend time with friends and family and on the water and have a good time doing it.
Well, what I see as also that really fits into that is a yacht is something that has to do with emotion a lot. The same as those that you build, the houses. I mean, I have seen some of them already, not
Oh yeah,
live virtually when you film them, but this is actually the same thing. You build things that people feel home. It's not just like
yeah,
a house, it's a home. And you are a family guy, as
yeah,
far as I know, and
yeah.
you know how important home is. So is it something that is maybe also a specialty, a gift that you have, that you are able to build a structure within the house, around the house, that addresses exactly that topic of feeling home when people get back home, when they have a home from you? Is that something that you would say, well, you are able to really adapt a house to what is needed to have it as a house?
Yeah, good question. You know, the funniest thing for me is I was always kind of artistic. I could see something done before it was done. I could take the ugliest house and I could stand there and go, okay, this is going to be beautiful. It's almost like a little painter, an artist, right? I don't want to sound too philosophical and dramatic, like I'm some smart guy and I could do, I see, but it was always in me. I remember the first house I ever did, I could see the house done, and it was a pretty disastrous area, I could say, to say the least. So it definitely was in me. And I always think about the family because I didn't have a home growing up. You know, we lived in a subsidized housing. It was a small little on the third floor of this building, and you know, I could hear people yelling and fighting and throwing things and arguing and hitting.
Mhm.
And so for me, I just want to make it peaceful. I want, when people buy one of my homes, that's a signature, they see like, oh man, that's one of that guy's home. So we do a lot of creative things, but yet we still stay neutral and very, the painting canvas is very neutral, but we still do some cool extra features that I feel like the family would love. And I always put a dining room table, a handmade, beautiful dining room table in all my homes. And I leave a note in my homes and I say, I hope your family has great gatherings on this brand new table. We felt that is a gift for doing business with us, handwritten. And then I leave my phone number. If there's any problems, I'm the owner, please call me. Because a lot of times when you sell a home, it's the real estate agents, the estate agents that
Mhm.
put the deal together and you don't meet them. So that's just my way of saying thank you. And I want your family to gather around the table and have some fun times and family time. So that's kind of how we approach it.
Got it. That's amazing. That's amazing. Now we come a little slowly to the end of the time. And now the question is for the listeners. Maybe you have a very good advice for those, either way, whether they start going into the business, into the real estate, or maybe some of them struggling right now. As you know, we have the time right now. It's not too easy. It's a big challenge, but at the same time, there are opportunities. So what would be your best advice to get going or to get started for those people who are brave enough to start a business in these days?
My advice is actually simple. It's kind of what I did. Um, you know, just find your passion. Find what makes you you, like what moves you, what gets you up in the morning. Because I don't feel like I work. I mean, obviously there's days I feel that way, but you want to do something that you feel excited to jump out of bed and do. and build a life of your own. With social media platforms, you see everybody's an expert on Facebook and Instagram. Now everybody knows everything about everything, and they made $10 million in 6 months, and they make up this lie. And you're looking at these people and you're just starting out and you're feeling overwhelmed and saying, oh, how am I going to get there? Well, here's the truth. They didn't get there either. They just created some kind of visual for people to look at and say, well, look, I made it. I made it. Well, in all actuality, you can make it. Anybody who's already made it, you can make it bigger. So you're always stretching your boundaries and your goals, and create your own life so that you don't have to make up a story. And it doesn't matter where you come from. Like myself, I just created this great life for myself, family, friends, people that work for me, companies with an S, and I wasn't the smartest guy in school. And you can do things that people tell you can't. And I know this sounds cliche. Everybody says the same thing, but maybe you're hearing it from a different person. And that could be the trigger that makes you go and do something great, so that you don't have to make up something on social media and do pictures in front of fancy cars and big houses. You could actually own that and do it for real.
Okay. Great advice. Thank you very much. Now, other than coaching that we have already spoken, other than that, what is it that you offer or can do for people, for clients, for those who search, buy, sell real estate?
What I do for them is I teach them how to sell. And how you sell is how you succeed, as you hear JT always says, but it's so true. If you can't sell yourself, if you can't get in front of people and talk to them, if you can't be authentic and you don't understand your numbers, what you're looking for, how to talk to people, how to make them believe what you're trying to convey, then you need a coach for that. I do that very well. And then I make people believe in themselves. Because they're not meeting some guy who uses fancy words and he uses all these technical words in business that we have what they call buzz words, where you hear all these so-called gurus using. I'm just a regular guy, and I dissect everything and I make it very simple, because I'm a simple thinker. I think simply. And I think a lot of people, when they're getting coached and they're looking for mentorship or coaching or whatever that is for them, they're looking at it and going, oh my God, this is too complicated. I don't think I'll ever do it. And I remember when I was searching for coaches, it seemed like everybody was so complicated, and there was no like real blueprint, like 1, 2, 3, ABC steps. And that's what I'm good at. Strip away all the noise and concentrate on putting them on the right path. And I think that's kind of a gift of mine. And it's quite funny. And I think you've seen this, Walter. How many of my students are actually doing deals? They didn't just pay for code, they're actually doing deals and making money. And I honestly, not to be a arrogant person, it's because I was able to go in there, infiltrate their mind and their heart and soul to make them believe that they're already successful. They just now have to go collect the checks. And that's what I teach people how to do. And I'm pretty good at it. I've gotten better over the years too.
Very important point. Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, we're coming to an end. This actually, what you have seen here is now an interview with Paul Kazanofski. And now if you really want to have a coach that fits into your life, in your business, in real estate, there he is, Paul Kazanofski, the real estate guy. You have to watch out. You have to get him. Make sure that you get in touch with Paul Kazanofski if you want to succeed more, or if you want to start a business, or if you want to just grow whatever it is in your business, real estate. He's the guy to talk to. It was an honor. Great having here Paul
Honored to be
Kazanofski.
here.
Thank you
Walter,
very much.
you're amazing. You're an amazing guy. Your listeners listen to you because you know what you do in your industry. And it was a pleasure to be here, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe and see you on my next show. Have a good day. Bye.